I understand that you are wanting to scale up your level of English. In order to do that, you have to be mindful of your tenses. That is, you have to have a good mix or a variety of tenses used appropriately in your speaking and in your writing. So in this video, I will be teaching you how to understand better the perfect tenses in English. So here we go. So guys, in English, there are three perfect tenses, namely the present perfect tense, the past perfect tense, and the future perfect tense. Let me begin with the present perfect tense. Let's take a look at how the present perfect tense is used. I have here three uses of the present perfect tense. Use number one. The present perfect tense is used to talk about an past and continues up to the present. Don't worry guys, because I will be illustrating these in a bit. Use number two. It is used to talk about an event that was completed in the past, but the specific time of the event is not important. And lastly, the present perfect tense is used to talk about an event that has just been completed. So now probably you're interested, how do we form the present perfect tense? So here we go. In terms of formation, let's consider active and passive. As a review, when we say active, that means our subject is the one doing the action. When we say passive, our subject is the one receiving the action. Okay? Or in other words, when we have an active voice, our action is done by the subject. When we have a passive voice, our subject is not the one doing the action. So, let's talk about active voice. So, how do we form the present perfect tense when our voice is active? So, when you have an active voice, your present perfect tense looks like this. So, you will have has or have plus past participle. So, has or have plus past participle. When do I use has? We use has if your subject is singular. You use have if your subject is plural. In this example, the doctor has prescribed metformin. So, your subject is the doctor. This is active because the doctor, which is your subject, is doing the action has prescribed. So, it is using has, not have, because our subject is doctor, singular. In the second example, the doctors have prescribed metformin. Notice that our subject is doctors, plural, and therefore, we did away with has, we use have instead, because have is used for plural subjects. Okay? So, I hope it's clear now. If it's active, your subject is the one doing the action, and we will use has if the subject is singular and have if the subject is plural. Plus the past participle form of the verb. So that's how we form the present perfect tense in the active voice. Next up is when we have a passive voice. Recall, again, we call that a passive voice if our subject is not the one doing the action. So how will our present perfect tense look like if we have a passive voice? So when you have a passive voice, your present perfect tense will have this formation. Has been or have been plus the past participle form of the verb. Let's take a look at the example. The patient has been prescribed metformin. So our subject here is patient or the patient. Let's take a look at the action. Has been prescribed. Okay? So the action here of prescribing is not done by our subject, the patient, but it's understood to be done by somebody else, probably a doctor, okay, or a nurse practitioner. So here, we have a case of our subject not doing the action, and therefore, that's why we call this a passive voice. Notice that we inserted been in between our has or have and the past participle form of the verb. That's how we do it for passive. So, has been or have been plus past participle. Of course, if your subject is singular, then you will have has. If your subject is plural, then you will have been plus the past participle form of the verb. So that's how we form the present perfect tense. Moving on. Okay, so recall earlier that I said I will be illustrating the uses of present perfect tense. So let me begin with the first use. So it says the present perfect tense is used to talk about an event that began in the past and continues up to the present. In other words, it has started sometime in the past. It has a trace of the past, and up to now, it is still happening. Okay? In this example, he has lived in Cagayan de Oro for 2 years. The meaning of that sentence is, he began living in Cagayan de Oro 2 years ago, and he still lives there now. Okay, so there's a trace of the past. The action started sometime in the past, and up to now, it is still true. Alright, so that's the first use of the present perfect tense to indicate that the action has started sometime in the past, and up to now, it is still happening. So what are the indicators or the time indicators for present perfect tense? You will see, like in this example, for 2 years now. Okay, for 2 years now. So when you say for 2 years now, that's your indicator for present perfect tense. You can also say since 2019. So I can say he has lived in Cagayan de Oro for 2 years now, or he has lived in Cagayan de Oro since 2 years ago. Okay, so for and since can be the starting of your time indicators if you are having the present perfect tense. Alright, that is if you want to mean that the action has started sometime in the past and up to now it is still being true. Okay, moving on. The second use of present perfect tense is the present perfect tense is used to talk about an event that was completed in the past, but the specific time of the event is not important. In other words, the time indicator or the past time indicator is not given. So, when that happens, when the action is already completed, but the time indicator is not given, the appropriate tense to use is the present perfect tense. In this example, I have seen that movie before. Another, he has already visited Vietnam. In the first example, I have seen that movie before. You have seen as your verb, which is in the present perfect tense. This means that the action, the seeing, is already done. That's completed. The action is already completed. But as to when particularly the action was completed, it is not given. So, we did not use time indicators like last night, 2 hours ago, etc., etc. So, in the second example, he has already visited Vietnam. Our understanding here in this example is the visiting of the person to Vietnam is already completed. The action is done. But as to when the action is completed, we do not know, or it is not given. Probably it's not important. So instead of using the simple past tense, we will use the present perfect tense to indicate that the action is completed, but the specific or the particular time in the past is not given. So, recap. The present perfect tense can be used to indicate that the action is already completed, but the time is not specific or is not given. Okay? And the third use of present perfect tense is to talk about an event that has just been completed. So here, it is similar to the second use, which indicates also a past action or action. But here, we have now a specific or a particular time when the action was completed. And that is very recently with the use of the word just. So here, for example, you say, I have just seen the movie. The word just indicates the recency of the completion of the action. So this is now the third use of the present perfect tense. So I have just seen the movie. He has just visited Vietnam, meaning the action of seeing the movie is completed recently with the use just. In the second example, the action which is visiting recently. Okay? So, again, the word just indicates the recency of the completed action. So, we're done with the present perfect tense. There are three uses of present perfect tense to indicate that the action has started sometime in the past and up to now it is still happening. And we have time indicators like for and since as our beginners for the time indicators. And the second use is to indicate that the action is completed in the past, but the specific time of completion is not given. And lastly, the present perfect tense is used to indicate a recently completed action. Okay? So that's our present perfect tense. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And consider subscribing. Yes, don't forget to hit that tiny bell so you will be notified of my next video. See you in my next video, guys.